Alright, Raghu Dixit in the studio. Can we all just clap for him, guys?
Yay!
Yes. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. Is this like the first time you're coming to a radio studio after like the pandemic is?
So you will imagine.
I would want to
No, actually, I've
start
done quite a few interviews during the pandemic.
during the pandemic
Yeah,
itself. Alright.
Yeah.
But okay, now this is a very regular question that you ask every artist after pandemic, but I have to ask you because every artist has a different answer to this.
Sure.
During the lockdown,
Hmm.
what was your schedule like, or how, like, were you concentrating on picking up a new skill, new music, or you just wanted to be chill and relax and like, hey, this is time for myself?
So I did all of that, whatever you just said. For the first month, all I did was lie on my bed, order from Swiggy, and watch Netflix and every possible movie on Netflix and Amazon Prime and every other platform that I could find.
Hmm.
And the only form of exercise I had during that whole month was my long walk from my bed to the toilet and back also.
Yeah.
Return journey on actually.
Travel plans.
So somewhere during one of those sojourns from my bed to the toilet, one day I stopped because I was too tired to take a rest, take some rest. While I was resting, I just lifted my head with a lot of difficulty and I saw myself in the mirror and I almost fainted because I was not fitting into the mirror anymore. So yes, that was a wake-up call. So I kind of weighed myself on my weighing machine, and my weighing machine refused to tell me the truth. Several times I stood on it and it would tell me the same lie again and again and again and again. So you know what happens when you tell the same lie 100 times?
Right, it becomes the
truth.
truth.
Yeah, so I had to accept the truth.
But are you somebody like, so you have kept like exercise equipment?
No!
Nothing.
No! Listen to the whole story, don't
Okay.
interrupt me.
Okay, go ahead.
You're like one child asking, "Aamele naito?" So what happened was that I called a namesake. Raghu Ramappa is his name.
Okay.
So he's a trainer, he's a bodybuilder himself. So I called, and he's a good friend of mine. So I
Okay.
called him saying, "Dude, I'm in trouble. Save me." So he came and he saw me and he's like, "I can't believe this has happened to you." So I was fat, but I was like humongous at this time. So I started dieting because he refused to let me work out for the first month.
Oh.
He's saying it's too dangerous for you to work out.
Hmm.
So I started the diet. And that's when I started looking up the internet and applied whatever I had studied as a student of biochemistry and science and discovered that we have different kinds of hungers. And there are 6 types of hungers.
Oh, wow.
One is hunger for water, that's thirst,
Hmm.
and there's hunger for nutrients.
Okay.
And then there's hunger for taste, there's hunger for variety, there's hunger for emotional reasons, and there's hunger for empty stomach. Only the first 2 are real hungers. The others are all imaginations of the human mind. And that's when I started to kind of negate the last 4 types of hungers, like not giving in to emotional requirements of the body, not giving in for the variety of foods that I would want to try. And because there's Swiggy, you can just check any kind of food and you can order, right?
Right.
So I uninstalled Swiggy.
I have taken the very same step day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Very same step because
Very
it's
good.
just food is so readily available to all
Right.
of us right now.
So that's what I did. And after that, so when you feel stomach is empty, you think you should eat, but it's not the truth. As long as you supply the nutrients required for the human body per day basis, you're sorted. You don't need to eat. So that way, I cut down my eating considerably. Now I eat only 1 meal a day at 6 p.m. in the evening, and I do a 24-hour intermittent fasting around it.
Wow, that's incredible. So how long has this routine been
So I
going
was 116 when I was weighed,
on?
and now I'm 90, and I have another 50 to go.
26 kilos lesser.
Yeah,
and,
almost. Yeah, 25
and in a
kilos
span
lesser.
of?
I started on May 20th.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah, it is, actually. And then I started working out, started building my stamina back. And through a friend, I started getting back to my dancing days, which was Bharatanatyam, which I learned as a kid. I had given it up completely. So I remember all the basic steps, but it was for me to write down and get back to it. So that's what I did, and then I enrolled into something very interesting to learn meditation, because just before the pandemic I had lost my voice completely. Again, a health hazard that happened because of my overweight, obesity, I would say, not overweight, because it was that level. Because of obesity, I was snoring a lot when I was sleeping, and because of snoring, the acid, the bile acid that is collected in your tummy comes up in the form of fumes, which resulted in burning my vocal cords. So by Jan end, I had lost my voice completely. And this was during the peak of season. I had to cancel quite a few shows. And then when I realized that it's not just a throat infection, which was a misconception, because there was no infection, but I just couldn't sing. And it came to a point where I just had air coming out. There was no voice. So that's when I went and met an ENT surgeon, and he said, "You burned your vocal cords, and acidic reflux for singers is the toughest because you may never get back the strength and the texture that you had initially. It's like just acid falling on your skin, so it burns, right? So your throat is burned. So for the tissues to come back and heal in the same way is impossible almost." That's what he explained. And I think the world came crashing down around me at that time. So like, आपको कैंसर है, 4th stage है, 20 दिन के बाद आप दुनिया से बिछड़ जाएंगे, type of a speech. So I was in a very dark space at that time. And that's when a friend of mine, again, some absolute stranger that I was speaking on Facebook, Facebook friend, I would say, and he suggested I start meditating. And I started meditating. And it's a very different kind of meditation where you close your eyes, sit in front of God, no God, whatever it is, but imagine that the whole universe is sending you the positive energy that you need to heal yourself. So when and you imagine a giant movie screen in front of you, and you picturize yourself where you're healthy. You're singing, you're rocking a crowd, all the tissues are coming back, the old tissues which are burned are wearing off, and new tissues are joining, and they're stitching themselves together, and the vocal cords are coming back and they're forming, and now we're starting to sing. So every day I started doing this, and by the end of February, my voice was coming back. I could speak, I could breathe easy, and I started singing. Then slowly my pitch was back and my texture was back. And I called my manager and said, I think we should start booking shows now. March, we got 6 bookings for shows. And then the pandemic happened. And I couldn't perform anyway. But it was a revelation that just sitting and meditating could transform a near end of my career into a second life. So now I'm trying to apply the same meditation for every aspect of my life, and it's working out.
There's this Netflix documentary. It's called Heal.
Yes, exactly.
I was dumbfounded when I saw exactly your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I recommend that video to anybody and everybody. It's not just medical healing. It could be mental healing. It could be healing relationships. It could be healing from past trauma. Anything for that matter. Or even your own situation right now, whatever you're going through. If you want to change anything of it, you just have to imagine the most ideal situation of that particular aspect, and over a period. But it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent, and at no point of time you're allowed to think, does this really work? Oh shit, nothing is happening. You cannot say anything like that. You just have to believe in that whole force coming together and make it work, and it will.
Right, it's also the law of attraction.
Yeah, it is. It is a form of that. It's all of that, but just that it makes it easier for you to just sit and imagine, instead of just saying yourself positive affirmations written down on your wall or stick it on in your mirror and saying that to yourself. This is such a very simple, easy way and enjoyable way to do it, because you're watching a movie of yourself starring in it in a heroic role.
And you feel those emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, I think, the most easy way to do positive affirmation.
Wow, however I imagined this interview to start off and go with, this is such a happy, positive story. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
I don't mind sharing it 100 times, because I think it's a very important message to go out there to everybody who's going through whatever life is throwing at them at this time, not just pandemic, even otherwise.
Right.
think everybody should just try it once at least and see the results, and it costs nothing. There's no investment.
Right.
Except for 10 minutes of your time in the morning. If you're feeling better, great.
Meditation changes so much. I have to ask you this one thing. I was reading a interview of you right before this interview started, and especially in terms of whatever is happening in Bollywood, in terms of Sushant Singh Rajput, and a lot of the chat coming up. You in one interview had mentioned that during your prime years of your career, there was rumor mongering that happened.
It happens even
against
today.
you.
When it is part and parcel. That's what is it. You cannot fight it. You cannot stop someone from talking negative about you. As long as you accept it, you're at peace. And the only thing you can hit back at a rumor is by doing great work. And there is no other way really. You cannot go and keep on issuing clarifications कि भाई ऐसा नहीं हूँ मैं तो बहुत भूला हूँ मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ मैं ऐसा हूँ and all that. No, not required. You just put your head down and churn out the next big hit, and the fans increase, and the love of the people will carry you forward. And people can do whatever they want, they have to, for their survival. And that is also a great acceptance, right? That somebody is doing something to survive in this world only. Albeit being negative about and stopping somebody else's career, poor thing, he knows only that way to do it.
Right.
But you can't go and punch in his face or go to a newspaper article and tell, okay, it's not true, blah, blah, blah. And so many rumors, not just one or two. I fought several, and it's like a wave coming and hitting again and again every year, every 2 years. Now I just step back and say, let it pass.
Are you somebody who would often Google themselves, because then you get to know?
I've stopped.
You've done that in the past.
Yeah, there's a lot of nasty things about me which I don't want to see, which again pushes me back into my space, which is not favorable for me. I would rather just look forward and let that get increasing in the Google search where people search for. I think that's the only way forward. I have no other defense. I have no other offense to move forward. That's the best way. Just churn out great songs and give rocking concerts and make people happy with my music. That's it.
Lovely. Okay, so since we're running out of time, I want to do this rapid fire section. Which so this rapid fire, it's a very simple one. It's not very. Your recent Bollywood, your favorite recent Bollywood artist, and any song from Bollywood that has come out which is like caught your fancy a little.
I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I've not listened to Bollywood music in a very, very long time. I think the last song I truly, truly loved was Ayat from Padmavat.
That is a great song.
And Raghu Dixit has sung it so beautifully, and it's so beautifully arranged and composed. I had not seen I have still not seen the film, but that song still is my go-to song whenever I want to listen to something pleasant and make me feel calm.
All right. Now this is language irrespective.
Absolutely.
Any recent track which is trending and you think, why? Why are people listening to it?
Mine?
No, not
okay.
yours.
Okay.
Not yours. Anybody's.
Man, I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I listen to music which is very strange. I, as a rule, don't listen to music where I understand the language of it. As a rule, I listen to music where the singer is singing in a language that I don't understand. And I vibe only to the emotional quotient of the entire sound hitting. That's the way I enjoy music. Lyrical content, for me, if I understand, somewhere I fear will stay with me and I start singing it. And therefore it gets imprinted into my DNA of my brain somewhere. And when I'm composing, some of it might come into my compositions. So it's actually a defense mechanism that I've figured out, that I should stop listening to popular hits. I should stop listening to anything that is remotely mainstream. I listen to music which is completely away from all of this, which if you see my Spotify playlist, you will never find me listening to any of the songs that you are just trying to push me towards.
No. But that's interesting, something that you said, that inspiration might come in your compositions.
Yeah,
but
it's not inspiration. It is actually just absolutely subconscious stealing.
Yeah, but you're not aware of it.
Yeah, but that's how kleptomaniacs also steal, right? They're not aware they're stealing, but they're stealing.
Right. But doesn't the tune itself sometimes stick in your head?
No, actually.
Tune?
No. Like I said, I will never repeatedly listen to the same song 100 times, 20 times because I like it.
Wow, that's another thing that singers go through or composers go through that I never thought.
I mean, that's how I figured it out.
Right.
I don't know how others work, but for me, if I listen to something that sticks into my head, I'm in trouble.
Okay, during this pandemic, that's everything that's going on. One song, if you could sing for us, that you would want to dedicate to the listeners who are listening to this interview.
Oh, lovely. I would love to sing a song of mine. अंबर पे मिलते हैं कदमों के निशान तेरे ही हर शाम खिड़की पे लिखे कोई उसकी बूंदों से तेरा नाम अंबर पे मिलते हैं कदमों के निशान तेरे ही हर शाम खिड़की पे लिखे कोई उसकी बूंदों से तेरा नाम मैं खेलो सनम तेरे ही है हम धड़कन ये मेरे दिल की पूछे रे तेरे दिल से कि सचमुच क्या है तू दुनिया में अंबर पे मिलते हैं कदमों के निशान तेरे ही हर शाम खिड़की पे लिखे कोई उसकी बूंदों से तेरा नाम.
Wonderful. Before I let you go, there is one more track
Sure.
that I would want to request you. This is my personal favorite. This is, I told you before the interview,
Hey, Bhagwan!
how I was introduced to Raghu
Dun,
Dixit.
dun, dun. Okay, that's probably the apt song for pandemic. रात के अंधेरे में रात के अंधेरे में मुझे जो उजाला दे रात के अंधेरे में मुझे जो उजाला दे जब थक जाऊं तो अपनी गोद का सहारा दे हे भगवान मुझको तू जिंदगी दोबारा दे हे भगवान मुझको तू जिंदगी दोबारा दे ये दिल को संभालूं कैसे संभालूं कैसे तन्हाई में डूबी रात है ये दिल को संभालूं कैसे तन्हाई में डूबी रात है अकेले हो तो क्या हुआ रे अकेले हो तो क्या हुआ रे अकेले हो तो क्या हुआ रे उसका जो सहारा है हे भगवान मुझको तू जिंदगी दोबारा दे हे भगवान मुझको तू जिंदगी दोबारा दे.
Raghu Dixit, everybody, thank you so much for coming to our studio.
You're
This has
welcome.
been such a fun interview, and I can't thank you enough for singing that track.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to listen to it live for such a long time.
What a shame you have not attended any of my
I have
concerts.
attended. I have attended.
What a shame. What a shame.
I have attended one. I'll tell you where. There's a big hall. I forgot the.
I know,
I
it's a
didn't-
lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie.
No, Sunny Leone was in that concert.
Dude, like, what a way to remember my concert, dude.
I don't remember the venue, but I remember you were there. Sunny Leone was there in that concert.
So that White Petals in
Yes.
Manita Tech Park.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you so much, Raghu
You're
Dixit, for
welcome,
coming
sir.
in, and that story that you've told us at the beginning of the interview, that should make so many people realize that there is always light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Red FM 93.5